We may be getting closer to Kellen Moore naming a starting quarterback, but from what I saw in the Jags game yesterday, man, neither the quarterbacks nor the offensive line nor some of the offensive players are helping make that decision any easier. I'm Tim. Let's talk Saints. Now, just as an overview of the what I saw yesterday watching live and what I was my first thoughts and thinking, um, and some of that is has kind of changed, but I'll put myself where I was yesterday afternoon. Because now the all 22 film is out from the NFL. Managed to break down some of it, and we'll move to some film breakdown in a minute. But just as an overall view, I felt we came out, generally speaking, from the jump, we came out just not looking right, not looking crisp, making some errors in various phases of the game. Um, and I understand and make allowance for the fact that, for Jacksonville ran with their ones. We kind of ran with our ones on offense, mostly twos on defense, or almost all twos on defense, really. But even then, like some of the subtle mistakes on the defensive side, missing tackles comes to mind, things like that. It just didn't look crisp. Now, when you start looking at individual players, you can find some who balled out yesterday and played very well. And I think they all did a lot to help themselves make their case for why they should make this roster and get some playing time. Now, that was just the overview. When I went in and started breaking down film, and to get this video out on time for Monday afternoon, I could not break it all down. I had targeted about, I think I had 12 plays. I kind of wanted to take a look at it, narrowed it down to six, and I gave the bulk of it to Shough. He was working with the ones. And Rattler, obviously I knew I wanted to talk about the interception, and even my perspective on that changed a little bit. And we'll get to it when we break that one down. Plus touchdown, which was a great play. And I'm trying to be fair and honest because I think my initial reaction from when I started looking at what Shough did wasn't as, I don't want to say bad. Wasn't when I thought it was bad. There were some that was, but overall, not his play, maybe not as bad as I wanted to put on him. And kind of the same thing for Rattler. And again, the interception is going to come into play for that. So my general takeaway is, and that's what I said in the opening, there was so much stuff going on around him. Like, I don't even know how you evaluate who the better guy actually is. Because it seems like when things are going well, and I know you can say this about any NFL quarterback, but they'll make plays. And it seems like when things are starting to break down, they can sometimes handle it and make plays. I think Rattler has a little advantage over that. But pure talent wise, Shough 2 weeks in a row, when he gets in there and some of the stuff he can do makes you just open your eyes and go, yeah, the arm talent. You kind of see what they love about him and why that's, their guy for better or for worse. But you still get some lingering question marks about some of the stuff he does. So I was trying to get a microcosm as much as I could on a very limited sample size on plays that they kind of reinforced or didn't reinforce, depending on how you look at it, what I thought. So balled it down to six plays. We'll break the film down. I think there's a couple apples to oranges comparisons we need to make. One, all fairness, Shough was dealing with Jacksonville's number one defense, specifically Hines Allen and Trayvon Walker on the edge, Olaquan and Olaquan off the ball in the middle was very, very good. Then Lloyd alongside of him, who had a really good game. You got Wingard floating around back there. Jacksonville, despite what their organization was the last couple of years, does, and you saw that on offense too, they do have some talented guys. And when you get them in position to make plays, they can make plays and make your life miserable. Shough got to experience that from five really good defenders that he had to line up against in the first couple of series before they started coming off the field. Rattler, not so much. But the trade off there is Rattler, the PFF grades have kind of come out, and some of the offensive linemen with the worst grades were the ones that were up in front of him trying to block for him. So, like I said, it's an apples to orange comparison, but I think it's worth noting. The other thing is the run support they got. Shough, and again, apples to orange, and game situation, game flow situation has something to do with this too. But overall, Shough had Kendre Miller 6 carries for 21 yards, 3.5 average, all in the first half. In the second half, Rattler got a combination of Velus Jones, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, Marcus Shorns, and Cam Akers, 11 for 47, 4.3 yard average. Plus, Rattler did run scramble 3 times by himself, 3 for 19 for 6.3. Point being is Rattler had the advantage of a better running game and more chances to be in front of the chains, shorter down and distance, very manageable plays than Shough did, in all fairness. So overall, you look at their numbers, Rattler 18, 24, 199, touchdown and a pick. Shough 9 for 12, 66 yards. Both the sacks came on his play, plus a very bad decision that should have been a sack, and it was actually a penalty. We're going to show 2 of those. The last thing I'm going to say, and this is, again, I just don't have the time right now like I would normally to get through all the plays and really take hard looks at them. I have a feeling, and I'll confirm or deny this on Wednesday once I get a chance to go through all the film at a much more reasonable pace. Man, of those numbers we're thrown at, I mean, you're talking about 12 dropbacks for Shough plus the other 2 plays that were sacks and the penalty. And I feel like half of the plays he was under considerable pressure. Rattler's 24. I don't quite know if it was that bad, but probably close. But anywhere from it seemed like a third to half of their plays that they were on the field trying to throw the ball, they were under tremendous pressure. Fact of life in the NFL, it's going to happen, and you have to deal with it. But this goes back to my point of, with all this struggle going around, how is Kellen Moore really evaluating these 2 guys? I just give you my humble opinion of it, and it is very humble, and it is definitely 100% opinion. I think they're so close. I think Rattler, with just a little more experience, right now is the guy to go with. But I don't know if they see it that way. I don't know once, for instance, we get Eric McCoy back on that offensive line. We know last year what a difference maker he is when he's there as opposed to when he's not there. More playing time with Shaheed and Olave and your top receivers, getting some healthy guys. I don't know. I really don't know how you factor all this in, but I am going to go on record right now. I think Rattler's ahead, and the better chance right now going into week 1 to be the starter. But I'm not going weeks 2 through 17, 18 beyond that with any opinion. Just Rattler for now. So this is Wingard sack. First thing you notice, single high, 2 corners out. You basically have 8 men in the box, more or less, with 3 off the ball linebackers at the snap. And this is out of 12 personnel. We're going play action. We're sending, looks like both outside receivers on the go. The safety staying deep, reading the eyes. Realize that Shough was trying to set up to the right side. Now, this is the point where Shough slips. If he doesn't slip, maybe, and I'm putting a big maybe on this, and he's trying to get the ball out, he might have been able to, right at this point, have the ball out and on its way to Shaheed while he's coming out of the break, and would have maybe had a chance for a completion. It's a lot of maybes. I don't really know, but there is that possibility if the timing and you get a really good pass and he guns it, because he's not going to be able to float that thing in there. But the slip happened, so we ultimately don't know what they were trying to do right there, but that's my best guess. And if you make the completion right here, you got a pretty good play out of it. And if you shake a tackle, you're going to have a really good play out of it, because, man, there's a lot of space down there if this works out. It didn't. Now, part of the problem was when we get to the end zone look, and we're going to look at what happened up here. When we get to the end zone look, we're snapping the ball, and we're going straight off a play fake here. There's the play fake. Now, this is one where something is going on the right side. Waga's taking his man to the inside. Looks like some type of little twist is about ready to happen, and we'll see more of that later. Ruiz, maybe he's supposed to slide off and take the wide guy instead of Fuaga taking him and Ruiz sliding down, taking the inside guy. Not really sure which way that was supposed to go, but I can tell you this, it wasn't done correctly. You got a free runner in and Wingard. Miller is on the play fake, and he's on the wrong side. There is just nothing he can do to pick Wingard up. So as it plays out, Ruiz finally gets on him, and this is what I was saying. Maybe if the slip doesn't happen and Shough is able to get the ball off, like get set when he plants that foot right here and gun the thing, maybe you get a play out of it. Miller's trying. He's not really in any position to do much about this. And you have the slip, and ultimately results in the sack. This is right at the snap. Wingard kind of snuck up a little bit, but he doesn't really show the I'm going to right at the snap. And unfortunately, because we're play faking to the left, and Shough's coming out that way to do play action on the fake to Miller, his head's turned and he has no idea what's coming to that side, either the blitz or that little twisty thing that they tried to do to spring him. So maybe chalk this up with a really good defense coming in and with a really good play call at the right time. But I feel like I can't put it all on that we had some miscommunication issues, and especially when you see the twist on the very next play, it continues that this is going to be a problem that's going to plague us. You know, if we don't fix that communication when defenses, and they will, especially when you start showing it on film that you can't handle it when they're going to twist and send inside and outside, cross and send inside outside like that, it's going to be a future problem. Now, the very next play, again, a lot of pressure. Some mistakes definitely being made on this one, protection wise and quarterback decision making. Protection issue was an egregious one. It really was. We'll have to go to the end zone for protection. We're in 11 personnel. We're gonna throw Cedric Wilson in motion to the offensive left, kind of showing some press coverage on the outside on Olave and Shaheed, sitting too high from the safety look. And the off the ball guys, 3 linebackers, look like they're probably going to play some type of matchup zone underneath. And yes, they do. So at the snap of the ball, what's going on now is our receivers on the outside are getting pressed. The guys right here off the ball kind of, well, let's see where Wilson's going to break on this route and see who's got what. Devin Lloyd on the right around on the 20 here has already realized Miller's coming out from the snap, and he is moving in position to match up and take him. That becomes a problem in a minute. Now, at this point, our tight end is released. He's finally cleared the edge rusher who's coming in from the defensive right. Nobody is still broken open really yet except Miller, who Shough doesn't have his eyes on, and even if he throws that ball, that is not going very far. Think he's waiting a second to see the breakdown here right on the 25, if he's got a window, which it looks like he does. At the moment, the pocket is pretty clean, but it's collapsing fast. He doesn't feel it, doesn't recognize it, because more than likely a veteran quarterback is either letting that ball fly, trying to thread it into the receiver there on the 25, or just going ahead and taking the check down right here to the tight end and going, let's see what we can get out of this play, make sure we pick up positive yardage. But at this point, the protection issue that I'm going to show you in a second on the right-hand side just kicks in. We've got nowhere to go for Shough. And he makes the worst mistake he could make. At that point, just take the sack. Do not do what he's doing right now and flip that ball. You're not recognizing who's out there. You're in a bad situation. You basically put the ball up where it can be a very dangerous situation, especially inside your own 5. If one of these defensive linemen happens to catch it off a tip and walk into the end zone, at this point, you just have to take the sack and do what we ultimately did, which was hand the ball off and do your best to get out of there with a run and play on 3rd down and try to improve field position, get a good punt, get a defensive stop, none of which would happen. The protection issue, right-hand side, you've got the edge rusher on the defensive left playing wide. You've got the defensive interior basically heads up on Ruiz, and that's kind of where you just need to keep your eye on right here on the right-hand side because, and this is something that has plagued the Saints in the past, everything looks good right now, and Miller realizing, well, we've got everything picked up. I need to get out. So I don't think this is anything on him, what happens here, but it could be. He might have left just a step too early because what's actually happening is a twist. Fuaga is taking the edge player who's now going inside, basically to pick Ruiz to try to free up the interior guy who's twisting around everything. They try to pass it off. They do not do a good job of it. Fuaga comes back out. Ruiz gets spun around. And now the edge guy who's now rushing from the interior, free shot in there, and it's brutal. Have to do a better job communicating on that side, making that switch so you don't leave the worst case scenario is leaving the edge rusher who's now coming in on the inside with a clean run up the middle. But you pick that up, you still have to deal with the other guy because Shough's going to be in a bind either way. If you do this right, and even if you lose the interior guy coming around off the edge, I would say again, a veteran quarterback. I don't know. We're got to speculate here a little bit. If Shough would have picked that up and realized I've got to take that dump off to the tight end to the left and get what we can get, but if he realizes that at that point somewhere in there and is able to make that throw, massively ugly negative play at least turns into something sort of kind of positive. So now let's take a look at a play that, quite honestly, worked out very well for Shough. It was the long pass to Welch. Kind of backed up almost on our own 10 right here. As we set it up, we're coming out the gun. We're showing a little single high. Maybe kind of dip into some type of disguise zone right here, quarters, have a safety float back into two high. Not really sure, but they're showing 8 more or less in the box with 3 back. And we saw that earlier on the slip sack play. Very similar, but this time we're still in 12, but instead of having our receiver split both out wide, they're twins on the right side of the formation. And use a little motion trying to figure out what's going on, which is always a good idea to do in the NFL. Play fake. We freeze some of the off the ball guys and they realize, okay, he's pulled it. Everybody's trying to drop into zones and matching up where they need to. So far, they've got pretty good coverage, but Miller comes out. We have a tight end floating over the middle of the field. Both are open, but Shough's looking downfield. He's got Shaheed on a cross, almost about 27, 28-yard line, going to the backside or to the offensive left. And he's got Welch crossing underneath, coming back to the offensive right, down towards the bottom of your screen. And I got to tell you, Jacksonville does a pretty good job of having 2 defenders realize what's going on, and one each goes with Shaheed and Welch. I think that's where Shough was looking to throw the ball down to one of them. The deep route with Olave is going to be covered nicely because the safety's already sliding over to take that, which means Shaheed and Welch, their guys don't have any safety help. We talk about that. Now, I'm going to gripe a little bit. I've really felt like this should have been holding, interference. Some type of flag should have come out at the point when this ball was coming out. And this is the thing where, you know, I, he makes a great physical throw. There's no doubt he has some serious arm talent, and he's shown he's really good throwing the ball down the field. But this is a tight window to throw the ball through when, if you notice, we had our other tight end just hanging out right there with a much easier play and check down. It's not going to go for nearly the amount of yards this goes to because he threads a ball in there. And look, Welsh is able to come up with a spectacular play and you have to give credit to the quarterback who's willing to gunsling it like that, kind of throw a ball up there that somebody's got to make a play on, trusting his guy that he's going to do it, and that defender is not going to high pwn a ball and throw an interception. So the arm talent wise, wow. The throw, wow. The catch, wow. The decision. I don't know how quite to categorize the decision making process compared to what happened on the play. But he went through his progressions. He's looking for the deep shots. Maybe he gets dinged for throwing that ball into very tight coverage with a what amounts to a pretty perfect pass when he had an option just kind of sitting there on about the 17-yard line wide open to make a much easier pitch and catch, but not likely to gain anywhere near 28 yards.
And I hate to show this one because it didn't end the way we needed to. It was the Shough pass to the right side that Olave dropped. But look, in all fairness, it was a good play. We're in 11 personnel. Olave's down here at the bottom of the screen. When used a little motion again. Glad to see we're using a lot of motion to try to help out our young quarterbacks. At the snap, you got great protection. You have a little stunt going on to the inside. Offensive line does a good job picking it up. He's got a clean pocket to work with as everybody's getting downfield into their routes. And right now, everything looks like it's covered up pretty good. Olave, though, is running a really good route because he has sold that he's running an up down there along the right sideline, when in fact, he's coming back. And Shough is already loaded up and throwing the ball so that when Olave comes out of his break and sets, he is wide open. The ball is coming in on time, on target. Also, that corner right now does not have any help behind him. Safeties are pinched over towards the offensive left. Here's the ball coming in, wide open, and Olave is going to have a chance to make that corner miss and really turn this into a, as he's standing right now, it's about a 15-yard gain. I can get some more chunk play, and I think that's what ultimately got him in trouble is he was trying to make that move and beat the corner before he secured the ball. It happens. You don't expect that to happen with Olave very often, so hopefully this is his one for the 2025 season, got it out of his system. But if he makes the catch and he's, you know, trying to get some yards after the catch and get around that corner, he's got an easy another 5, maybe 10. There's some guys coming over the top now, so I don't quite know if he can put in the end zone, but hell, you never know. So ultimately, this is one of the plays where you know, it shows it as an incompletion for Shough, but you look at everything along the play, and I'm going to tie this into the play of the day we had against the Chargers when he threw the touchdown and tipped and bobbled at the end, but was able to hold on. That a lot of times getting caught in the wash when you only look at the numbers and not look at what was going on at the field at the time, and being able to do what we're doing now with the all 22. Thank you NFL for providing this, even though they charge nicely for it. You get to see that quarterback, offensive line, the route running, the play design, everything was as good as it was in the long touchdown pass to Tipton against the Chargers. Difference is Tipton bobbled, but he hung on to it. Olave thinking ahead, going, if I get around this corner, I'm going to get a chunk of yak and give myself a chance to get in the end zone. Just doesn't quite secure the ball before he tries to make that move on the corner. So on the interception, Rattler going to take the snap, RPO. He pulls the ball from Miller. And maybe there could be some debate here whether he should have handed it off or not. I'm honestly not the guy to be asking what the quarterback is looking at, need to be doing on RPOs, unless it's clearly obvious, which to me this isn't, whether the run is in fact there and you want to hand it off, or if the pass is there and you want to pull it and throw it. Now, what I'm about to tell you is and I'm not 100% sure, I'm not being gaslit here, but in post game hearing Kellen Moore talk about it, especially Mason Tipton talking about it, saying he really screwed this up and it was all on him. And then seeing a tweet from Luke McCown basically saying, and I'll explain what McCown was saying in the tweet, that this isn't all on Rattler. Because my initial reaction was, what are you doing? You were having a really good game, I thought, in the second half. and you're just going to kind of blow it in this situation in the red zone, which is one of the things that he has struggled with, um, getting the ball all the way into the end zone. But what McCown was saying is, when we look at what's going on at the top of the screen, Tipton's on the outside, Pettis is on the inside in the slot. That this should have been a slant where Pettis clears the slant out. You can see the space on the 10-yard line where he should be coming into. And that's what McCown is saying is right here. In fact, Tipton's coming in too flat, which allows the receiver, or I'm sorry, the cornerback to undercut the receiver like he did, jump the route and pick it. What McCown is saying is the that up until this point was on the receiver, not running a good hard slant. What he said as far as what Rattler's culpability is on this is as this is coming up, he's kind of throwing the ball like the slant's going to be there. McCown is more the feeling needed to recognize that a little sooner because he can't throw the slant. He's the McCown saying try to back hit the ball to Tipton right here. This is why I'm kind of curious about that because the man guarding Pettis is kind of on the back hip. I don't really know if you have anything here that they can do. One thing that I thought of at this point is when you get to that situation, Rattler recognizes just pull the ball down and try to run to the right, scramble what you can get, or because you got guys run blocking on that offensive line, and they're going to be going downfield. You can kind of see that start to happen. So you can't wait at this point. You got to get rid of the ball, or you're going to have to run it yourself. Um, because if you wait too long, you're going to have a lineman downfield, and you're going to have a penalty. So I'm not at least conceding that this isn't like I initially thought while the game was going on, 100% on Rattler. Seems that he does have some responsibility, but if that route, everybody, including Tipton, taking the heat for it or trying to take the heat for it, saying, if I come out on the hard slant, we don't have this problem because the better route would have got Tipton in the space with Rattler being able to be on time and on target, throw him the ball. Now, one that's a little more fun to talk about is third down, 3rd and 9, I believe it was, 27 seconds left to go in the game. We need to make a play right here to keep the drive going and give ourselves a chance to, you know, get in the end zone, get a 2-point conversion, tie the game, and see what happens from there, which we all kind of knows what happened from there. But initially taking the snap, we're in 11 personnel. But our running back is Velus Jones. So we have a pass catcher lined up back there with Rattler. Recognizes protection is good. He releases being Jones out the backfield. But we've already got the play setting up, excuse me, downfield. Now we've got levels here. We have man out in the flat working towards the sideline. We have Pettis getting out of his break in the mid-level, breaking towards the sideline. And Kevin Austin Jr. kind of curling up inside the 5, which right there takes that safety that's picked him up, matched up with him, and kind of taking him out to play for what happens next. Because Rattler throws a dime on the Pettis going towards the sideline. The defender tries to jump in there and break it up. He can't do anything. Worst case scenario at this point, you've got a catch and you're out of bounds at the 5, 1st and goal. Great. Pettis does a fantastic job of just staying in bounds, but in a position where if somebody comes up and hits him, he's going to be able to get out of bounds and stop the clock, but gives himself a chance to get in the end zone. Beautiful pitch and catch, beautiful pass. Protection was good. So this is one of those, put a feather in your cap. Rattler and Pettis, the offensive line for blocking. Velus Jones, we keep looking at who's those running backs going to come out. In that situation, recognizing, got to stay for a second. Nobody's coming. I need to get out in the route and not be standing here waiting around. So good job on his part for a guy who's a receiver that's being converted to running back. I got to give him some props all the way around. Great, great job. So that's just I hate to say it, a very cursory look and breakdown so far of the film and the highlights. Um, like I said, I want to take a much deeper dive because these first impressions, again, once you start looking at more film, could change. But overall, I'm feeling kind of comfortable and more looking forward to as I get into the film that on Wednesday we may be able to talk about some individual players. Mason Tipton comes to mind, had a great game. I think Stutzman is really nailing down a job, and we can go through a couple more of the younger players and even some veterans like Clyde Edwards-Helaire. To me, has to make this roster at this point. So walk through all that on Wednesday, and we'll see where it takes us. We'll also be talking about how to trade. Kalen Saunders traded to Jacksonville, of all places. And I'm sure we'll have injury issues and other stuff to cover too. So we'll catch up on all that stuff as far as the game that we didn't talk about today on Wednesday. So if you're first time here, you like what you saw, please go ahead, hit the subscribe, the like, and the share. I'm going to keep working hard to keep providing stuff people want to watch and participate with. So thank y'all very much for everyone who helps and supports this channel. Couldn't do any of this without any of y'all, and love you all for it. So till I see you next time, I'm Tim. Peace out and who dat.